So it's really cranking up this hill at over 30 miles an hour, but the road is about to get bad right here. Oh. Now, my previous videos on this Meepo 2-in-1 Hurricane, which has street wheels and all-terrains, has principally been about these all-terrain wheels, which has incredible performance with these pneumatic wheels, not just in terms of speed and power and comfort, but it's just a really great overall experience. And the performance speaks for itself with these wheels. But it is a 2-in-1 board. That means it comes with both all-terrain wheels and street wheels. And I want to specifically in this video see what the performance is like on these street wheels. It comes with 90 millimeter wheels, which are a little on the smaller side, but they're very soft and they actually have a pretty smooth ride. And you can see the belt setup here in the back. It's a pretty clean setup with these 90 millimeter wheels. Now, with the all-terrain wheels, they're 155, so they're much bigger and they're inflatable. They're pneumatic, so they're soft and have a very smooth ride. And you can see the pulley system, those pulleys and belts are much bigger than the street wheels. So this gets into gearing and everything else, which we can talk about a little bit later. But the performance with the all-terrain wheels, bigger wheels tend to have higher top speed, so they have bigger pulleys, which tend to offset that. But the street wheel setup is very clean with these smaller pulleys, these two big motors in the back, and you can see these dual kingpin trucks, which are principally designed for turning. Now, as we take a look at the front setup, it's obviously with the smaller wheels, it has a lot less clearance, and that's where these dual kingpin trucks come into play. They give you the clearance that you need even with the smaller wheels. But I have this thing ratcheted down pretty tight, so my turning ability is much lower, and this really helps with speed wobbles. Now, you don't want to crush your bushings, but you do want, if you have a tight setup, it will help with the speed wobbles. Now, I want to give a little shout out to Nobleman Tech. They sent me this full face helmet, and it's pretty slick. It has a sunshade built in. It's got a clear shade you can put down either over the shades or without the sunglasses, the sunglass shade. It's got a removable face guard, and it can be worn as a half helmet too, either with the visor up or with the visor down, much like a motorcycle helmet. So no matter how you wear it, protective gear is important, and frankly, in the winter, it keeps you warm. Now, if we look at the gut, this is the rolling 2-mile hill climb. The all-terrain setup set the record at 4.5 minutes, 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and it beat the all-wheel drive Pro, and those two boards are pretty clear of the field. Now, it's not a fully exhaustive field, but it's a pretty big field, and I know there's some high-performance boards out there, and if those manufacturers want to send them to me to get them on the leaderboard, I'd love to take them. But the question is, how does a street setup fare versus the all-terrain setup? Will it actually be faster, or will it be slower? Let's head out to the gut and find out. We're approaching the start, getting up to speed as it starts. Just a little bit up here, just past this second pole and the mailbox. All right, we're off. Now, as we're going up this first hill, we're up this, in the mid-20s, and I can tell you the torque on this board with the smaller wheels is noticeably better. And it's not surprising, but it's noticeably better. So in this first section of road, again, this is 2 miles long, and for those that watch, you know that the surface is not great, especially the first and last part of this whole run. And so through here, you got to be a little bit conservative because you can be bouncing around, especially with the smaller street wheels. They don't take these bumps nearly as well as those all-terrain wheels. So as I'm coming through this first section, it's actually, you can feel this thing wanting to run, and it's really doing an amazing job right away. Now it went up that first hill nicely. I'm about to approach the second hill as this car passes me, and you can see my camera is starting to shift. And I'm paying attention to what I'm doing because we're going really fast, and I'm a little bit highly intense on this run. So I'm not paying attention necessarily to where my camera's pointing, but I will fix that in a minute. But as we come up to this first section, you can see we're starting the mid-20s and we're starting to run a little bit. We're 3 seconds ahead of the all-terrain setup at the first checkpoint. Now, my camera through here doesn't fix itself for a little bit, so I'm going to speed it up so you don't have to suffer through it. But this is the flat section. I'll point you to that speedometer. It's rolling, and now we're going up a hill. It's this sustained like 4 or 5% hill, and look at these speeds. 30, 31, 29 miles an hour. This is uphill. That rock wall on the left is just disappearing. And so now we're flattening out. We're coming to the last section of the gut, and this is where the road gets really bad. Let's get to the second checkpoint here at this sign. And we're 8 seconds ahead, so we made up 5 more seconds on that. So now we're going through this little chicane, and this, again, for the smaller wheels, you gotta be really careful, and careful anyway, because it's a little bit bumpy. It's a heel side turn for me because I stand regular. And down at the bottom, you can get back on the throttle and get up to the, the upper 20s. And again, my camera's moving again, so I apologize everybody for that, but it's a good run. I didn't want to do it over again because the board just did an amazing job. So now we're back on the flats. We're hitting 30 miles an hour. And again, we've already gone about a mile and a half. So we have about a half mile left, 30, 29, and we're starting to go uphill again. And this thing is just eating it up. I mean, I've never felt this kind of power going up this late in the run. It's really quite amazing. And remember, at the last checkpoint, we were 8 seconds ahead. So it's hard to imagine this board is going to give that up, and it might even expand that over the remainder here. So if you just look at the street a little bit, you can see some of the potholes going by that I have to navigate. It's just really terrible. And there's some really brutal spots that I got to get through, and I just went through the dangerous part there. Now I'm on my last little left turn before I come to a right turn, and let's fix the camera and see where we come up to the end of the gut. It's up here on the left. The time to beat is 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So let's see where we get to the mailbox. 4:17, 13 seconds ahead. So the Hurricane Street setup did a 4:17 on the gut. In my opinion, it absolutely demolished every other board on this, but certainly the all-terrain setup. And that's not actually surprising. I mean, most of the speed and torque, you're going to get better performance on the street wheel setup versus the all-terrains. If you were on perfect pavement, I'd go with the street setup. But on everything else, which is most of the time, I think the all-terrain setup is great. Meepo sent me this email that said we're getting I think anyone who bought a Hurricane is getting some new stuff, including a new ESC. And there's been some talk about, or questions about, why doesn't this board go 35 miles an hour? Maybe the new ESC that's being sent will fix that, or change that. I don't know. But there's no doubt in my mind that this board has the capability, the power to go much faster than probably even 35 miles an hour. So it gets down to the way the speed controller works and the pulley system with the wheels and what type of wheels you're using. But this board has tremendous power, tremendous performance, and the street setup is pretty darn good.